Everyone, welcome to the show. I have more early polling data to share with you, some that's really exciting from some key swing states. There's also promising news about secret Republicans supporting Kamala Harris. And I have sad news to share about Russia and Donald Trump. The love affair may be over. I'll explain that in a moment. But before I dive into all of that, have you guys heard? Apparently, DonOLD is reportedly too exhausted to do interviews. So evidently, he was scheduled to do an interview with a site called the Shade Report, I think it is. But after weeks of negotiation with them, a Trump advisor told the show's producers their boss is, quote, exhausted and refusing interviews, but that could change. So Trump's team is denying this. But we all know he's been canceling a bunch of different interviews. So he canceled first 60 Minutes and then CNBC. And he was just on Dan Bongino's podcast. And in the middle of another softball question from Bongino, Trump just abruptly ended the interview. So during the whole interview, by the way, he was very low energy, didn't seem like he was awake at all. He actually defended convicted rapist and accused serial sexual predator Harvey Weinstein. That guy. Yeah. Trump said he was treated horribly by the left. He said he got, quote, schlonged. He got hit as hard as you can get hit. Seriously? I don't know how that's going to go over with Trump's side of the fence. You know, they're not exactly Harvey Weinstein or Weinstein fans. And I guess all sexual assaulters stick together, right? In any case, it definitely seems like there's something going on with Trump, something more than usual, because the interview was held at Trump Tower. So he didn't even have to travel anywhere to do this interview. All he had to do was come downstairs or go to whatever suite it was being done in. And it ended after only about 30 minutes. He was like, oh, I got to go. You know what? They're going crazy. I got to go. Maybe that's why he's so cranky. Maybe he needs his bottle, he needs his binky, and then he needs a nap. Maybe we'd see a different side of him. And then we've also just learned Trump's hotel apparently regularly overcharged the Secret Service while he was president. This is according to the Washington Post and according to a Democratic-led investigation. Several times they said the Secret Service was charged 300 times more, or more than that at times, than the standard government rates. And they were charged more than other guests, they said, including a Chinese business and members of a foreign royal family. So more grifting. That is what we have to look forward to if this sociopath is reelected. So let's get to some uplifting news, though. I mean, it is uplifting that he's exhausted. So, maybe the end is nigh. Anyway, but want to end this national nightmare in any way possible, whether it means at the ballot box or at the morgue. Anyway, yesterday, early voting started in North Carolina. And as you guys all know, they've been hit pretty hard by the hurricane, certain areas especially. But they set a new record for early voting. So people are showing up in large numbers, even in those very hardest hit areas. And some polling locations said that they had at least a 1-hour wait. And at the end of the day, yesterday, more than 353,000 people had voted. So the previous record for day one early voting was the last cycle in 2020. And they had just over 348,000 people cast their ballot that year, or the first day. So not a huge jump, but given the circumstances of the hurricanes and everything going on, the relief efforts and cleanup efforts that are going on, this is a big deal for people to take time out. And here's the most exciting part. Wake County surpassed their previous 2020 day one early voting record. So same day, 2020, they had less people in this county. So as you see here in the screenshot, almost 31,000 ballots were cast in that county as of yesterday. In 2020, it was just over 26,000. So again, not a big difference, but here's why this is a big deal. Wake County is the largest county in the state, and it's become more and more blue over the years. And there are a lot of educated suburban residents in Wake County. So that is the core, as I'm sure you guys know, of the Democratic base. And as you can see in this chart here, Wake County has voted for the Democrat in the presidential race since 2008. They went 62.25% for Joe Biden in 2020. And in a state where the race, as I'm sure you guys also know, is neck and neck. I mean, some polls show Harris up by 1 point, some show Trump up by 1 point. It is razor thin. She needs absolutely every single vote she can get, especially if she loses a couple other states like Nevada and Arizona, which it's looking more and more likely, unfortunately. So she is going to need to pick up North Carolina. And Trump won in North Carolina in 2020 by just over 1%. So think about that, how small of a margin. If she can just improve upon Joe Biden's performance, even if it's in that just one county, it could put her over the edge. And speaking of Arizona, unfortunately, their voters don't seem as enthused, or maybe it is a good thing. I don't know. We'll see. But they don't seem as enthused as other states because their early voting started 9 days ago, yet less than 77,000 ballots have been cast. So 31% by Democrats, 48% by Republicans, and 21% by voters who don't align with either major party. Unlike other states, also, more men have voted at this point. So maybe that's why we're seeing not a lot of voting. Maybe, that's why we're seeing less Democratic support because it's more men and they tend to be more Republican. Anyway, it's not by much. So as you see in this graphic, 48% of men have voted, 45% are women, 7% are unknown. I don't know why. But Georgia, another big day for Georgia. So they continue to set new records. Today was only the 4th day of in-person early voting. And just prior to noon, this is Eastern time, more than 1 million votes had already been cast in the state. This is monumental because, as I mentioned previously, in all of 2020, in that entire election cycle, there were less than just under 4 million votes cast. So there are 8.2 million registered voters in that state. So 1/8 of the registered voters have already voted on day 4 of early voting. So pretty incredible. And here's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a huge turnout among secret Republican Harris voters. Apparently, this is a real thing. There was a Pennsylvania campaign event for Harris the other day, and the Daily Beast was there, and they spoke with one of her volunteers. It was a woman from Utah named Charisse Udell. Udell told them, quote, "Obviously, when you drive around, it looks 100% like Trump country, but there are a lot of Harris supporters out here, a lot of people that are registered independents and Republicans that are voting Harris. The reason why you don't see a lot of Harris signs is, honestly, I've heard over and over again, people are afraid to put up signs because they're afraid of what potentially their neighbors, unfortunately, might do to them for having a Harris sign up, depending on the outcome of this election." So, number one, this gave me hope, right? That this could be happening throughout the country, and it's just not being reflected in the polls, and we'll, see this massive shift. Also, I thought, what BS. Look at what Trump has done to our country. People can't even put out a Harris sign or say that they support her without fear of being attacked, and sometimes physically, right? But then they call the left dangerous. They clutch their pearls about cancel culture. Oh, you can't say anything anymore without being canceled. You people are literally physically attacking other people for their beliefs. Don't even get me started on their BS hypocrisy. Anyway, last but not least, I have news from the Kremlin. Newsweek reported after Trump's batshit crazy so-called town hall, Russian state TV started questioning his cognitive function. I mean, I feel like I'm in that movie with Bruce Willis, right? Welcome to the party, pal. Where have they been? So I'm sure you guys have all seen the videos and heard about this event. If not, it was truly something to behold. I mean, Trump only took a few questions from the audience. He, as usual, spewed out a bunch of word salad, a bunch of non-answers. Then, after a couple of people passed out, because apparently it was very excessively hot in there, like no air conditioning, which, probably Trump didn't want to have to pay the bill. He's like, oh, let's just listen to music. So then he stood on stage and he's swaying back and forth, sometimes dancing, which is, that's my eyes. So he did that for almost 40 minutes. 39 minutes to be exact. It was truly one of the most insane in the membrane political events ever. It will go down in history. So Russian media, if you guys don't know, I mean, I'm sure you all know, Russia is a big fan of Trump. He's a big fan of theirs. But they're always all about Trump being a god and he's so strong, he's so healthy. These people are just complete and total Trump humpers. They do as much, if not more, propaganda for Trump than Fox. They played the video of Trump dancing at this event, and as it was playing, one of their hosts said, quote, "I have to acknowledge that the former U.S. president, and possibly future one, often keeps repeating himself during his speeches. He indeed gives a cause to doubt his mental abilities. He isn't far behind the current president, Joe Biden, in age." I mean, when you've lost the Kremlin, right? Like the old saying goes, when you've lost Russia, I don't know where I'm going with this. This is not actually, there's no saying, but anyway, it shows Trump is definitely worrying the Kremlin because these hosts would never say something like that unless they had the okay from Putin, right? They do not dare to say a word that hasn't been cleared by their daddy Vladdy, right? They don't want to suddenly fall out of a high-rise building. Ooh, I slipped and fell, like, a million other people that pissed off the Kremlin. So anyway, that's where things stand. I will definitely keep an eye on the early voting for you guys. I will report back with more next week. I'll have a couple of sentencing videos for you over the weekend. Hope you all have a great one. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe to the channel if you have not. If you can donate, truly appreciate it. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.